Hello everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you a feature of ClassIn that has been around for a little while now, but I just recently started using it with my students. So this feature is called the notice that is in your chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, of course, from the student's perspective. So down here, you can see my iPad that I use to test out as a student. So you'll be able to see what the student sees. And then, of course, I will be showing you how to do it from the teacher's side. So what is the notice? So if you go to your student's chat, you will notice down here we have all these different options that many you've probably used. The last one looks like a little megaphone, and this is to send a notice to your student. So what does that mean? You might be thinking, how is this any different than just typing a message in the chat box? When I send a message in the chat box, of course, from the student side, they will in the iPad, it's a different layout than from your computer. So it's nice on the teacher's computer because I can see all my classes on the side. And when I click on a class, I can also see my chat box at the same time. But from a student's side, if they're using an iPad, which most of our students are, they don't see all of that. They just see their list of classes, and then they have to click on the class in order to open their chat and see all the task, test, course, and all that fun stuff. So, of course, if I send a message, the student will see that little red dot showing them they have something to look at, and they can read the message. So, why is a notice any different than that? So, let's take a look at the notice here. When I click on it, a big box will pop up for me to type in my notice. So the only thing you can put here is text. You can't add any pictures, emojis, anything like that. So I just type in something random here. And there are two setting options. Student confirmation is required or pin the notice. And I will show you each of those. But first, let's just look at what it looks like to post a notice. So when I post this, I will see a box here that says the notice and it has the message. And this is what I like about the notices. That is different than just typing in just text in the chat box. It will let me know if the student has read the notice. Well, kind of. And I'll explain why I say kind of. So here's my notice. Now I'm going to go to the student and you're going to see 0 out of 1 because I haven't read it yet. And then I'm going to go to my student. Oh, it still shows that there's a message here, so it does notify my student here that there is something to look at. And then when I click on it as the student, they're going to see the notice. So they see the notice and they see whatever I typed to them. So now if I go back to mine, now it shows me that 1 out of 1 has been read by the student. And the reason I say kind of tells me they've read it, really, the student doesn't have to read the notice. All that tells me is that the student opened the chat. Because once it's visible in the chat, it's going to show me that it was read. Whether the student actually read that message, I don't really know. But the reason I like it is because I want to make sure the student is even looking in the chat box. Because like I said, when they open to go to class, all they see are the classrooms. And of course, when they enter the class, they enter from this page. So it at least tells me that my student is opening the classroom and they're looking at their chat box and most likely looking at the message that I wrote to them. So now let's go back to my post. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the notice again. Type and this time I'm going to put student confirmation is required. And I'm going to do the same thing. Confirmed students. Now it doesn't say read students, it says confirmed students. That means the student has to confirm that they looked at the message. So it's taking it a little bit step further than just I had to open the chat and I see it. Now they actually have to click on it. So I'm going to go back to my student. I get the notification that I have something to read. Click on it. And then it says go to confirm. Again, I can't force the student to do that. They can still see the message. But if they click go to confirm, it has the message and then confirm to receive. Now, if I go back out, it says confirmed for the student and for me, the teacher, it shows that they confirmed it. I don't use this because I teach a lot of younger students And most likely they're not going to do that anyway. So if I taught older students or adults and it's a really, really important message, I might do that, but I never use the confirmation. And then let's go to the third. And of course, you can do both of these options, none of them, or one. So the pin notice. Now when I type in my message and post, now it just says read because the pin, all that does is pins it to the top. As you can see up here at the top of my page, that means when I scroll up, it stays there. It doesn't get lost at the bottom. So it's pinned to the top, but it still has just read because I didn't ask for a confirmation. So now I'm going to go back to my student, click on the notification, and you will see for the student as well, it is pinned at the top and it's also at the bottom. So when I go back to the teacher, I can remove the pin by just clicking on the X up here. Once I saw that they read it, it doesn't need to be pinned anymore. And then it will be unpinned for all students. Unpin. Again, I don't use that because there's no reason for my students to have to scroll through their chat, so they're not going to lose the message at the bottom. So the only one I do is just sending the notice. That way I can see that it is read. And just to look at the other options here, if I click on this, all it does is opens until it shows when I posted it and whether it was read. If you look at the three dots here, I can share it. So if I wanted to copy the QR code to share with the parent on WeChat, I could do that. I can edit it. So if I need to change something, I can edit the message. I can recall the message, which means it disappears. And I can pin it after the fact. If I decide I wanted to pin the message, I think the student's not looking at it, I can pin it to the top. And of course, remove it again. So again, how I use this is just to see if they have looked at it in their chat box. And I only use it for homework reminders because I use homework for all my students. I know not all teachers like to do homework, but I assign homework for all of my students. And most of them are pretty good about doing it, but some like to wait till the last minute. So I always send the notice reminder the day before class. So if I go up to my student, Justin, he did some of his homework, but he still had one more assignment that he didn't do. So I sent a notice, and I just like to type it in Chinese. I just translate on Google Translate, and it simply says, do your writing homework. So I know since I sent it today, so it's night for him, he has not seen that message yet. But if I go to another student that I taught last week, where is Amy? So here's her notice that said, do your homework. And I can see that she read it, and she did do her homework right after she read this notice. So I really like it for that just extra confidence that my students are actually looking at their chat box, because there's no way for me to really know if they are. And if they don't do their homework and I see that they looked at it, we can talk about that in class. I'm like, oh, why didn't you do your homework? What happened? And then they can usually tell me they were busy or they forgot, whatever reason that they have. But it's a nice way to just know that the students are actually checking what you say and what you write in the chat box for them. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. Bye, everyone.